Bun găsit, doamnelor și domnilor, la interviurile telejurnalului. Securitatea l-a urmărit mult timp pe Coen Stork. Bine ați venit! Welcome to Romania.
Thank you.
As far as I understood, you didn't have time to learn our language.
I had time enough, but not brains enough to learn yet another language.
You've been followed by, you know, securitate. You know this word.
Yes, of course, yeah. That's the first word I learned here in Romania, securitate. Yeah.
You had a close relationship with securitate, unfortunately.
Yeah.
When did it begin?
In my time, it was worse than before. It became worse all the time. So, for me, it was natural that I should be critical of the situation and of the regime.
You came from Holland, and as far as I know, your file on your name, and in this book I have in my hands, it's not your real name in the book, but you are the first diplomat. Stan,
yeah.
When you saw the book, when you saw the files of the secret police, could you realize who was the real name?
Yes. Yeah.
You knew everybody.
Yeah.
In 2008, as far as I know.
2008?
Yes, you could see what the secret services, secret police wrote about you.
I was surprised that it was a pile like this of 1,600 pages. And I went through it with a friend. And, well, we made a first selection. When I mentioned it to Lidia Bodia of Humanitas, that I had my complete file, she said, "Can't we publish that?" I said, "Don't you have enough by now, of those memoirs and so on, of those bad times of communism?" And said, "No, because from Romanians we don't get a whole file. We get bits and pieces, but it's too embarrassing for them, too painful for them to give a whole file, because there are always rather sensitive things in it."
Why did they follow you?
Yes, well, I took my cue from my very much admired and liked and loved colleague, Hugh Arbuthnot, British ambassador. He had been there already for a few years, and he had managed to be critical and still not be thrown out of the country or declared persona non grata or something like that. And I was living close to him, and I admired the way he was operating. He, for instance, he let a Shakespeare actress and actor come from London to Bucharest, and they performed at his house, reading parts of Hamlet or of Othello or whatever, and asking then around it people like Karamitru, Ion Karamitru, or other friends, Romanian friends, mostly Romanians, also some people, foreign affairs, who were looking like this, and they didn't understand very well what was happening. But I was also included as one of the few diplomats at parties like that, at his house, and for me that was very important, to get into Romanian society.
You came here from Cuba, as far as I know, and the regime, it was a little bit closer.
Yes, but still very different situation. In Cuba, there was still, certainly at that time, very much support for Fidel. I think there still is, in spite of everything. But here, I think general support for Ceausescu had really dwindled, had disappeared more and more.
And then you came here, how you felt?
It was very depressive, and for me as a newcomer and as a foreigner altogether, I mean newcomer or not, but I noticed the fear of Romanians to be seen to have contact with a foreigner. When they immediately saw from your shoes or your dress that you're a foreigner, or the way you behave and so on, and when you meet them in the street, on Piazza Amzei or the Calia Victoria or whatever, they looked away. They didn't want to cross your eye. So scared people were to be seen having contact with a foreigner.
You had a lot of friends here, and you met some of the greatest names, I mean, like Andrei Pleșu. You met also Silviu Brucan, Mircea Dinescu. You had some contacts with Doina Cornea.
Yes, once, one visit we paid. Pleșu was not in Bucharest. He'd been sent out by Securitate to a small museum a few hundred miles north of Bucharest. Sifu Khan was in Damarwaya, and nobody could see him anymore in the last 8 months or so before the revolution. Who else? Mircea Dinescu, one could not see either anymore, and he had become a good friend then. Yeah, well, it was, as from beginning of 89, it was almost impossible to see any of those people. Mariana Kacelak I could still see now and then, also difficult. And sometimes through my son, my 14-year-old son, we continued contact and gave letters to each other and so on.
When you could meet them, what you were talking about?
Well, about the situation and general situation, and they asked for news, what did I know, what was happening in the world and so on. So, general things, or about art, because I know about art, and so they had a good partner in me.
You knew those times that you've been followed by secret police?
I never paid very much attention, really. I didn't try to find out whether I was being followed. Yes, sometimes I played jokes with them. They didn't know how to follow me when I was on bicycle, either to run after me, but that would be a little bit ridiculous, or to go by car and go very slowly, also a little bit ridiculous. But so I lost them and encountered them. And then in their own, because it was dark, in their own headlights, I wrote down their registration plate of the car, so that I could recognize it in the daytime when there was a lot of traffic in the center of town, that I could recognize the Securitate people. And then I waved at them.
Have you ever felt fear?
No, I was not for myself in any case, but a little bit that they would arrange a little accident with my son.
I know that an ambassador should present his diplomatic letters to the president. Yeah. Have you met Ceausescu?
That's the only time I've met him, yes. Very soon, I must say, in their favor. They were quite polite in that they let me come in. And indeed, a week after my arrival, I was called in to present my credentials. And first, before that, the chief of protocol, Mr. Moise, came, and we had to do it, to rehearse it. And he said, Ambassador, so you come in here in the room, and you go 7 steps diagonal, and you turn like this way, and then 2 steps like this, and then the president comes to you, and you make your little speech, and then you hand over your papers, your credentials.
And how was it?
We shook hands, and then and Moise said, then the president takes you to 2 very big Romanian chairs, I mean much bigger than these, standing there, very heavy chairs, and photographs are being taken. That was very important for Romania Libere and Scânteia, and then you talk for a quarter of an hour of 20 minutes, and the president is very nice, and he is very knowledgeable, and he can talk about any subject in the world, very cultured person. And also quite funny was that we were sitting there, the photograph was taken, and only then the interpreter came, because the interpreter should not be on the photograph, because President Ceausescu was supposed to speak all languages in the world. He had, I mean, what I heard about Ceausescu, he had a very good memory. He really was, he was not stupid, but he was not very diplomatic, let's say. And he's, thank God, he didn't speak very well. He was not a big orator like Hitler.
How did you feel those 5 years when you were here?
The revolution came, and things changed from one day to the other, from a deadly silence, as it were, around you as a Western embassy, to hundreds of Romanians suddenly coming all over the doorstep and wanting to speak to you and get visa. anyway, it was quite exciting, very exciting to be all through this. My whole posting was in Romania. I found, especially those 2 years under Ceausescu, very exciting. I can't say that it was all very nice, but it was not. I was not bored.
I saw something that the secret services, they were trying to arrange something for you. I mean, to put a lady, and even if you are married, they were trying to...
Yeah, I never understood why they said we should send a married Romanian lady to him. Why she had married, I didn't understand very well. I was not conscious of anybody, of any woman having been sent to me. I mean, I made those contacts myself. I was able enough for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador,
Okay.
Mr. Stork. Thank you for visiting us. I hope you'll be here again.
Yes, sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Doamnelor și domnilor, la interviurile telejurnalului l-am avut pe unul dintre foștii ambasadori ai Olandei la București, urmărit de securitate, domnul Coen Stork. Vă mulțumesc!